Welcome back from the commercial break. We are privileged to have a discussion that is a major discussion on the global trend, especially as we build on the ideological point of view of Pan-Africanism. I'm also aligned to it. It's not only for NRM, it's for
patriotism.
Patriotism. But as we look at Pan-Africanism,
social infrastructure and economic transformation.
Exactly.
Yes, these are things which are needed really for citizens.
Thank you, sir. So we are happy to be with the Honorable James Kakoza as we continue to deliberate on matters of East African community and assessing the progress of East Africa Legislative Assembly. By the way, let me say this. You are among the few legislators of East African community who are appearing before citizens of Uganda to give us the elaboration of what is happening.
No, my colleagues, I think, you've not maybe called them, but they're ever there.
No, for me, it's you, I know, and I have to appreciate you, sir. So while doing that, and others anyway, who also very soon you'll send me one, we would like to reflect on this adventure, not a partisan adventure, but it is a national adventure of which we all desire to build on. And a lot has been said, but we would like now in our last session here to look at, as the Honorable EALA representative for Uganda will give us the hope of improving our macroeconomic policies that seem to be not yet stabilized. When I mentioned that, I know it's a wide aspect, but there are around 3 of them. You talked about the banking sector. Banking meaning that our East African community banks are supposed to be much more in charge of the financial transactions, the stability of our currency. We are aware that you are progressing on the matter to have one currency, but still that will not assure us the stability of the currency. Reason why I say this, as I said, we are talking about the macroeconomic policies. Our export trade levels, especially of the community, still remains very low. The market which you've talked about, even the regional market is there for what we could export. And also the agreement signed, the partnership agreement signed with the European Union to trade with them. But our productivity rate remains low. And in the delivery of social services, we talk about health services, we seem not to have had that social economic integration where we have, like in East Africa, a hospital that can handle specialized cases of which can limit our nationals in the region not continue, and the countries they are in, to continue spending a lot of money sending our citizens to go and get medication in India, in South Africa. One time I lost my own mother because I couldn't manage the payment of the medical bills, which were over 100, to go and treat heart disease challenges. So we look at that balance seem not to be, happening for our good. And also the commitment to revive the transportation, because when you talk about trade, the infrastructure, the railway line, and that makes business to be difficult to be achieved. Airline, and in this case, you find the airline, of course, we don't have, we are limited in some airports in the region. The railway, Uganda railway, which collapsed, we are trying, really we are fighting to see it back. It makes business to be very difficult as we look at the global economic crisis. We have natural resources are supposed to be exploited for the good. And instead of being exploited for our good, we continue still to suffer the challenges that you are aware of, that leads to high national debt. After that, Honorable, I thank you for noting, we would also wish to look at the democracy of the East Africa Legislative Assembly, which begins with, internal party politics and the member state parliaments, which also is still having challenges. Kindly, you're welcome to talk about the macroeconomic policies.
With the banking sector, I think what happened pillars.
The Kenyan banks.
The Kenya bank.
But for us, we are not yet in that chain. Uganda.
Uganda.
We are not
Even
yet.
there is no bank now, even apart from KCB in the region. There is no another bank. But then you have to put a law which will govern all the rules and procedures of the banking system. Because as we are now, Kenya has its own Financial Institutions Act, Uganda has its own Financial Institutions Act, then Rwanda has its own Financial Institutions Act. You have to harmonize to have a legal regime. That once you have a monetary, one single currency, this is what we start with. You still with the legal regime that will control money laundering, accessing money, illicit flow, financing, yes, all those sort of things. So these are things we deal with. Then you come to that too. When you are dealing with the economic levels trade, you cannot have starting people accessing your market in intra-trade. You don't have a harmonized tax laws. That's why I think today where we are now, yes, the East African community, the intra-trade, there is a ban. They have introduced 35% when you're importing goods from the outside country, from let's say Japan, Kenya, Dubai, where all those countries which are not in the East African community, they have put a ban that in case you are bringing a product within our market of the partner states, we cannot produce at the same levels and we sell those products. We must protect our industries. You get what I'm saying? And once we protect our industry, those guys who come in within the market, we must be leveraged than them. So you cannot live, not until you have that legal regime that makes you the intra-trade so that you protect your industries, you protect. Another one which I can add on, as you've said, we need a standard harmonized system of within the trade, yes, the standards. The products of Uganda, Kenya, Rwanda, South Sudan, they are not the same. You must put that legal regime to harmonize that system, that all the partner states who are trading to each other, there must be a standard recognized that my product cannot be doubted by Kenya. You get what I'm saying? That's the trust you are talking about. So if we build that legal regime, it will force the other people to succumb, because you'll be having one harmonized standard that when you take your goods in South Sudan will not reject.
So while we are talking about that, and back to what you're explaining, we're looking at stabilizing our currency.
All those legal regimes, yes, are precursor, yes, to the economic balance you want trade with. Exactly. You get it? Those legal regimes must be in place. Because even if you produce a product and you can't sell it in Tanzania, you are destabilizing the economy of the partner states. Though the market, for me, I want to produce for East Africa. But the standard to access that market, we are not at the same level. So will I access the market?
You can't.
You can't access the market. So I need that legal regime that for me, if I am Kakoza here in Uganda, I export to Rwanda, they should not doubt my product. You get what I'm saying? Like the eggs which we are producing here, Kenya is saying they are not of a standardized level.
There's an unresolved question I have, Honorable, on this matter. Yes. We got trade. I ever did business. I've done a lot.
But for me, I was in business for almost 10, 15 years.
That was around 2012. I transported, it was not an improved product by then time as per the call for value addition, cassava from here, Soroti, and then we crossed to here to Rwanda. But what was much more painful, there were two things. Still, the charges of the tax before you cross the EALA, they first charge you more, and already when you put on your cost of purchase of the goods in the transaction, it could be very high. That's one. Then two, what was much more painful, to find that we don't have, as you understand issues of economics, the market is not regionalized. It's a free market. You go, and all of a sudden, When we reach there, they say the commodity, it has collapsed. The cost of purchase, the cost of sale, it has collapsed around like 50 or 100%.
So,
and also, as I conclude on it, as I'm opening it up for your discussion and direction, while you reach at the border, you have your 4 million. Then you do the exchange. You lose.
Exactly.
How can we solve that?
No,
That's
the monetary policy and the fiscal policy within the partner states must be harmonized and regularized to make sure that people who are trading, for instance, there must be a certain level of, let's say, if we put like a monetary policy, or we put like a, let me give an example for viewers to be fair. The tax laws, the tariff rates are really different. From Uganda, you have VAT, it's about 18. Kenya is 16. And Tanzania is different.
It is affecting us. It's
affecting you. So even traders in Kenya, when they come here for VAT, it's a different story. So it's like import duty. Those are the things now the researchers must work upon before we transit to that monetary policy.
It is affecting us very much, sir.
You get it?
Yes, sir.
So all those things are worked upon. The researchers are rolling their heads to make sure that once we go for single customs territory, these impediments must be removed and we agree to sign those protocols. Unless otherwise they don't, then we won't have a balance of trade. Like for common market, you saw that people were taking goods in Tanzania. They leave the tax. For what? When you sign a protocol. With Tanzania and Kenya and Rwanda, we have one legal regime. You get it? Because now if I move out, I produce water, I'm exporting it to Rwanda or to Tanzania. Why do you say levy tax?
Yes, that's a challenge, and it's not resolved. It's
affecting
your people outside there.
Those non-tariff barriers.
How long will we see that coming to the
end? Of course, it's a necessary evil. That all these challenges you see, that after people being sensitized, and we have that common goodwill and the political will, that really, that we want to trade together. We want to move together. We have to have free movement of people. We have businesses together. A person from Tanzania coming investing in Uganda, you don't need anything. You come with your company registered, is known in the monitoring system.
The monitoring system.
They monitor you, how you do business. You come here and invest in here.
So Honorable,
all these challenges.
Yes, sir.
Where we are now, we are forcing, since we started a long time ago, we are telling you people that transiting to other pillars of other two remaining pillars, monetary union and the federation. Yes. Can we evaluate the two pillars, how we've worked, so that those challenges are dealt with before we will transit there? So this is what they are working on. So the Secretariat is on research. Since the East African Customs Treaty signed, where are we having a problem? That it cannot help us to reach the way where we want to go. As I've mentioned, that now they're evaluating before we go to another level. You've seen now they have announced where the bank, East African Bank will be. They are looking for other measures. Like, for example, I've been telling the people in the assembly that we must look for also an alternative financing of infrastructure development. Because our economies, there is where they cannot do much. You have to borrow from China or IMF or World Bank. We introduce just a certain percentage rate of infrastructure development in the partner states. That where projects now, which are connecting within the East African partner states, we get that money there and we do those projects.
I
get
think
what I'm saying?
you are answering my question of socio-economic integration, the railway issue, and the
rail-
hospitals,
exactly.
the health of the people.
You must have one national insurance scheme. That you must, everybody as a Ugandan, as a Tanzanian, you contribute a certain percentage.
Are we going to realize that, Honorable?
Of course.
It's a good idea.
I'm
And
telling
everyone
you
there
where
could like-
it's a necessary evil, either you want it or not. Because in terms of doing business, every businessman is looking at a lower cost of doing business. Is looking at flights which are cheaper.
Rail is in place.
Rail is in place. And the only way to go, we've proposed, some of us, to those guys at the Secretariat, that look at an alternative financing. The budget of the East African Community should not be a project-driven. It must be a self-identity, that the money is there to deal a project that does
Self-sustaining financing.
Because you can do it. When they went, I can give you an example where we are now, in taxation, whereby you have 1.5 infrastructure development of the partner states. Every country levy a 1.5 rate percentage on a CI value of every goods coming to Uganda. And it was achieved. The heads of state agreed on it, and it's working. It's the same trend. We must introduce a common external tariff that does collect money for the benefit of the citizens of one infrastructure, like we've said, the roads, the railways, and the airlines. And it's predictable because the statistics are there. Those people want to export in our partner states. Like when I was reading, I was attending the summit where the heads of state, where they were signing a protocol agreement with the SCED. SCED proposed a very good idea that all East African community must establish a center of excellence of minerals. That where people want to trade, we have minerals, gold, tin, where, we should put it in a collecting center. That we have one market. Anybody who wants gold to come to trade in Africa, I mean in East African community, there is a center where we're going to pick that gold. The tonnage Uganda has produced, it will be known. The tonnage which Kenya has produced,
Which is informed like a marketing board.
a marketing board.
Yes.
You get it?
Yes.
So anybody who comes will not beat us, and we have the minerals, they are ours, they are natural resources of ours. Why should somebody come from Uganda, buys it differently, in Tanzania buys it differently, in Rwanda buys it differently, when we are in the partner, we are in the common market? So we should have to put a center of excellence where we put our minerals, they come and buy, and those partners stay.
So that's an accomplished business that is still on the table.
No, he brought a proposal,
It's
and which is a good
proposal.
idea.
It's a good idea.
So this is the way how things can be. We are forcing alternative financing of these national projects of the partner states. That the financing is predictable.
There is this project, the standard gauge railway.
You know what is it?
In other countries, it has succeeded fairly.
Of course,
In Uganda, it has not yet succeeded.
No, because it was the borrowing of the money, the protocol they signed. Because when they said that each country, you must work on your infrastructure side, then you transit to another country. Then another country starts from there, from the border to another country.
What affects Uganda not to have a realized
Of course,
it?
they have not made a structure from Nairobi to where? To the border of Maraba. So that's where Uganda must start from. If it had its money, Uganda,
Yes.
it would have done its part.
We thought it had already borrowed from the...
No. They refused. The agreement was we must go process by process. Yes. Once that railway line reaches where? To the border of Maraba, then we start financing on your side.
It was stretched to West
From
Nile.
Mombasa.
Then Uganda, it goes to...
To Rwanda, Rwanda up to Burundi.
Up to Burundi.
Now they are adding up Zaire, also it's another cost. So which they will look into. But the agreement was first deal on the part of Kenya. After that process, we give you another side of Uganda. And then Uganda to Rwanda. Rwanda also starts from there. But as you know, that we've been having problems in our economies. As we are planning, God plans his own side.
While we are planning that, the war erupts.
The war erupts. You can look at when COVID came in.
I understand.
The whole economy was affected.
It was affected.
Look at the Ukraine war, which is affecting.
But commentators say Ukraine war, in terms of our economy, would have managed. But our macroeconomic managements are the ones which are betraying us.
Of course.
As you mentioned, the cost of doing business. You are transporting petroleum. You are using the road. And and which road? You know, the road transport, which cost is high. And one said, he was analyzing here, and it was very simple. He stated it. He said that if now but this now becomes a long-term plan. If we were building now, we had strong rail lines, it would mean that the cost of doing business could be low. The prices of buying this, buying fuel,
at 6,000.
the price of buying this water, the price of buying a ream of paper now, it's 25,000, which was 15,000, could be low.
Yeah.
Do you think that the member states are having concerted effort to apply the same approaches of managing this economic crisis? Because we seem not to be moving at the same page. No. 1 second, Honorable. We find that in Kenya, they were talking about, in order to favor our countrymen and the countrywomen, let us reduce a certain cost on this like this. Yet, of course, Uganda is a landlocked country. It approached a different way by the president. How are we going to be at the same pace of managing this crisis?
Of course, is to make a very good foundation of the intra-trade.
The intra-trade.
When we increase the production capacity of people to know what they are supposed to do, to sensitize the public, to understand what they are supposed to do within the common market, for me, I feel that's what is important. And when you avail that production capacity to people within the partner states, the demand and supply of goods will dictate the trend. And it will balance.
It will streamline and balance.
And balance.
Let's go with that. It's a good submission. While coming to the end of the program, Honorable, we are very soon about to go for the EALA elections, and it looks to be the environment of how these elections are conducted are questionable. And some countries, especially member states, one time Kenya, they reached the time they put on even an injunction for the elected members. In Uganda, apparently, there is a different of, we are having challenges of internal democracies of political party to determine who are to be the candidates. What is your main opinion in giving a good prospect of having the internal and the member state democratic processes of having the 9 EALA members, which are according to the treaty, and also having harmony among the elected members?
Of course, the treaty is very clear that when you are sending your representatives, 1/3 of the 9 people should be gender, blah, blah, blah.
The women.
Affirmative action.
The female or the male.
Or the male, affirmative action must be considered.
That's right.
2, the shades of opinion.
That's right.
The shades of opinion, these are within the national parliament.
That's right.
Must be recognized. Like you have opposition, we have the NRM government, and we have independents. All these are in the treaty. And when you are voting,
1 second, the shades of opinion seem to be categorized as independents and also the political parties represented in parliament.
Within
parliament.
And so when you are voting, you must know you have independents, which is 1 slot. If you are voting 8 positions, political parties must have the way how you generalize it or you share it. It's quite important to know the representatives. In the other last elections where we had, it was a general consensus that they will depend on the numerical strength of the parties represented, like they did in the Political Organizations Act.
The numerical strength subject matter seems to, according to the rules of procedure, was of 2007 and up to 2017.
And that's what I'm saying, that it's just a consensus within when you are voting, so that what they are talking of internal democracy, because internal democracy doesn't have a yardstick in parties.
Why is it NRM getting all the 6 throats against the opposition parties, which are 7? Is it fair? Since there is no political party.
How many people do you have in the House? Even if they want to take it all, they can. They have 329 members of parliament. When they go for voting, who do you ally with?
So for the treaty, what do you think should have been done to realize the treaty?
No, the treaty cannot dictate terms in the national parliament and the rules of procedure. They tell you, vote thinking about these areas. The parties you have in the House, the shades of opinions, that's opposition and the current party in power, and then independent. Those are the shades of opinion in the House. So if in the rules when you go to share, what do you do? If you are sharing. For me, I think like a Political Organizations Act, which we have, when they are giving money, they use a certain criteria of parties, how many people?
A certain formula.
A certain formula.
Yes.
I think that's what comes on board.
Even do they apply it even for election, for the EALA?
Of course, that's what I think they apply, because if it's not, how do they come out?
With the 6, all of them from NRM.
NRM.
Because like we're having NUP was, according to the statement.
Of course, there is somebody who is challenging that.
Yes.
But for me, it's just...
And also like, in the party, one was challenging the way how the 6 members of parliament of NRM
I think they didn't read the constitution of the party.
Okay.
Because I can tell you, there is no judge who will sit and say, you as NRM, you do this in your party. Because the rules of the constitution of the party are clear how they operate. 1, SEC is the Central Executive Committee of a party as the highest organ. It does recommend to the organ of the party in parliament, which is a caucus. The caucus has not decided. These people, their role is to advise and send to the caucus. So how do you go now to court and say, now the process, which is the caucus? The caucus has not decided. These people, their role is to advise and send to the caucus. So how do you go now to court and say, now the process has ended?
Thank you. That's a good information that the viewers wanted to know, because it was somehow being...
Suppose the caucus say the 6 we don't want them bring others.
They thought, many of our people in the public thought that the process is concluded. But
it's not yet.
Your information is a good one, because, you know, at times, you know, the public was saying NIM is also dictated, you know, what they are doing.
No.
Thank you for sharing with us, and you have maybe give the last word as we just say good night to the viewers, and maybe the last, you know, word of hope. But it's a pleasure to have been with you tonight, sir.
For me, my thinking is we should continue with the public awareness. This integration is not for leaders, it's for citizens. And we as citizens of partner states, help the people who have that vision, so that whatever they are doing affects our lives. So that's why it needs a maximum participation of citizens to make sure that this integration, because this integration is quite important for bottlenecks which are affecting the lives of our people.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you to have honored our invitation and the views, the insightful information that you've shared to us and the viewers remains on record, and we shall share all this across the board.
Thank you very much for hosting me. This was my first time to come here.
Thank you. Come again when I invite you. I'm just such a kind, you know, good moderator who goes into point by point.
No problem for me. Discussion. It's quite important that you media help us to disseminate this information to the community so that they can understand why the leaders are choosing, just taking that option of integration.
We wish you all the best as even you continue looking ahead to continue where you had reached, especially in advancing consolidating and advancing the achievements of East African community. You have given us hope and, you know, made honest statement that it is process by process. I like that, and,
sure.
And also I appealed to you that let there be mutual trust and realization of what the citizens want.
It will come.
It has been great to be with you, dear viewers of Smart 24 TV. Take this home knowing that even as our children over there, the Ugandans, as you know, pursue education, we have job market in the East African community. And for those who are doing production, increase on production. And then the state, to ensure that there is peace and there is unity, there is political will, we leave it to them. And all of us working together, we can benefit from being part of the East African community as we achieve the Pan-African agenda. It has been a good evening to be with you. Thank you for being with us, Honorable. God bless you.
Thank you very much.